Well, Sully, we just got done recording some instant reactions to some games going on tonight, and now we got some more reactions to make here because Arkansas, a program that just can't seem to have anything go right this year, just took another hit. Boogie Fland, star freshman, he is out for the remainder of the season with a hand injury. John Rothstein, the first to report that as of about 16 minutes ago. Sully, I mean, me and Blake, we just did a whole video on Arkansas. They're off to the worst start in the history of their program for SEC play. John Calipari, everything indicates that he has completely lost not just his fastball, but his changeup, his 12-6 curve, his slider, everything. This is, to put it quite frankly, very, very bad news if you're an Arkansas Razorbacks fan.
Oh, this is like the worst possible news that they could have gotten. I mean, you didn't expect 0-5 in conference play. You didn't expect to be the worst team. And now you're one of two players who have shown any level of hope for you guys, have shown any level of promise. One of them's now out for the season. And I don't know where they turn, to be honest. I mean, this was a disaster roster level building by Calipari. You only got 9 guys. Well, there goes one of them. You're down to 8. You lost your best guard. Moved DJ to the 1, I would say. Nelly Davis to 2. I don't really know where they go from here. I'm going to be honest. This is disaster level thing. This is like the worst thing that could have happened, and it just did.
Yeah, no, and I mean, for a team that's already had just so many things go wrong. I mean, John L. Davis, number 1 player in the portal, he doesn't look anything like his usual self. DJ Wagner is really yet to make that jump you wanted to see. Adu Fierro, of all people, is their best player. I mean, we've talked about Adu at length. He's an amazing role player, but for him to be your go-to guy, not what you want to see. Big Z hasn't really had much of anything. Jonas Adu, plagued by injuries, struggling to find his footing. I feel like this seals the deal, Sully. They're not going to make the tournament. I don't see a way.
Oh man, you say might not even make the tournament. That's set in stone. Might not win more than 3 conference games is now looking realistic. This is
quite literally disaster territory if you're John Calipari.
Arkansas has been getting slam dunked on by everybody on Twitter. Calipari's been getting dunked on. They call them archaic. They were coaches are saying, yeah, we don't fear this guy when he's on the other sideline. I mean, boy, now they for sure don't fear him. Nobody feared him this year. He's 0-5 in conference for a reason. And now the lead guard, the guy who is best off the bounce, best taking shots off the dribble, is now out for the season. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Do we think – okay, so I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here or anything, but do we think that – okay, just let me cook here. So do we think this is partially – because Boogie Fland is just looking at this team? He's obviously got an injury of some sorts, how severe it might be. Is he just looking at this team and saying, why am I here? I need to sit out and just preserve my draft stock? Because that just feels like what this is. I'm going to be straight up, just get it out of the way. That's what I think this situation is.
I agree with you 100%. I think he's writing's on the wall. The writing's been on the wall for a couple of weeks. He's like, there's no point in playing for this team. My draft stock's only going to drop when I'm shooting 2 of 13, and his hand probably is hurt. I don't doubt that. Now, I don't think it's as severe. It might, or I should say, it might not be as severe as out for the season, but he's probably like you said, save the draft stock, be a first-round pick, lock that in, go make my money, rather than sit there and lose money with your draft stock tanking, playing through an injury.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing is, too, with the hand injury, I'm pretty sure Cal said at the end of the last game that he was already dealing with a hand injury, and then he said, he's gonna be out for a foreseeable amount of time now. So I think he's already been dealing with it and playing through it, but I think maybe he just saw, the lackluster start of conference play and was like, you know what, this is it. But, I mean, if you're a Arkansas fan, obviously, I mean, you've got the recruiting talent coming in next year, but with Cal's recent results, I mean, is that really something to get excited about? Because I hate to say it, but he's washed. I mean, just to put it as simply as can be, he's washed. And I mean, I hate to say it because he's one of the greats of the games. He was at one point on top of the world in college basketball, and it's just sad to see where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, you should always be excited. Darius Acup and Bleak Thomas, the two big gems of this upcoming recruiting class, they're still very good players. The problem becomes who are you going to surround them with? Because we're losing a lot. You had 9 guys, let's be honest. A good majority of them might enter the portal. A good majority of them are gone via draft and graduation. I just don't know. 2 players can't win in college basketball. And the SEC, Calipari struggled with the SEC. Now every team has talent. It's not like the old days with him at Kentucky. He could just run through teams because he sat there and just amassed the most amount of talent possible. And they just were able to out-talent every single SEC team. They can't even out-talent teams like Missouri. Now, albeit all due respect to Missouri, they were 0-18 in conference play last year. So that's pretty bad. And that Missouri team who returned a little bit of pieces from last year, added some new guys. Yeah, they just beat the brakes off of Arkansas. There's no hope going forward for this Arkansas team. Lost to LSU, who's probably one of, if not the worst team in the SEC besides South Carolina. Lost there. It is actual, like, all hell has broken loose in Fayetteville. I don't know. I don't know what Calipari's going to do this offseason. I think there's a possibility he retires. He's hey, I'm done with this. Do you think that's on the table?
Yes, this is exactly what I talked about with Blake. So I said that when you look at him on the sidelines, he just looks like, and I mean, in the post game sidelines, everything, he just looks like a dude that's fed up. Like, he always looks defeated. He looks like he's the only one trying out there, and he's surrounded by a group of assistant coaches, to put it quite frankly, are just goofballs. Like Chin Coleman, he was out there defending Cal today on the archaic comments. Like, dude, you're as big of a part of the problem as John Calipari is. Like, you can say what you want about Cal and his ability to not adapt, which I agree with. I mean, he has his philosophy. He likes to stick to it, and it worked for a long time. But I think a big part of what's gone wrong for him recently, this is completely straying away from Boogie Fland, but I mean, it's an overall theme of Arkansas. It's just he's not surrounded with good people. Like, it's just
yes,
disaster
man. That's
all
his,
around.
those are his guys. Those are the guys around him. Yes, man.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have a bunch of yes men like Bruiser Flint and Shin Coleman there boosting your ego, and then you got your son on the bench, Brad Calipari, I mean, he's not going to tell you anything. He's not going to check you. It's just a recipe for disaster. And I mean, last year when people thought he was beginning to kind of adapt somewhat, I think a lot of that had to do with his assistant coach. He was related to Riley Welch, the Kentucky
John
walk-on.
Welch. John
Welch.
He went to, I think,
John
Fresno
Welch.
State.
Yeah.
He saw the writing on the wall and said, "Oh, hell no, I ain't coming back and coaching with you."
Yeah, no. And John Robick too. He left the program years ago at Kentucky. I mean, it's just bad all around. And I definitely think that him retiring when the season's over is definitely on the table. And I honestly think that's what he should have done from the jump, because this Arkansas move all along, to give a real life analogy, it kind of just feels like, a guy that just got dumped by his ex, and he's like trying to go out and make a statement like, hey, here's my rebound. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to be better. And it's completely flopped.
Oh, flopped is an understatement. This is the worst thing that could have happened. I've said this like 6 times, and it's true. It's every time I say it, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think any Arkansas fan expected this. And I think the Arkansas fan base might have already turned on him. How the hell did that happen? It's the first season of him there. Like, this is something I didn't expect. I thought they were going to be solid. Nothing too special. Nothing too, like, bad. Unfortunately, they are the worst team in the SEC. That is insane to say. That is just nothing I expected.
No, and I mean, I thought almost that they would, when we were looking at the rosters in the spring, I thought they'd be better than Kentucky would be. Like, year one of Pope, I thought they were getting settled in and all that. And I thought Cal just had more talent in place with his existing freshman group, and then he was going to get his transfer pieces. But this just hasn't worked out completely. And I mean, losing Boogie, who was kind of the one guy, I mean, he can be a little inefficient at times. He really likes those sidestep fade threes a little too much, and he tries to do a little bit too much off the dribble at times. But he's a talent, and I mean, he's going to find a roster in the NBA. Somebody's going to take a chance on him in the draft because, Arkansas fans, if you have any hope of Boogie coming back, just go ahead and toss that out the window because that's not going to happen. Everything in the past from Cal with situations like this where an injury's come up and a freshman guy's been out, they're gone. So you can look back on your time with Boogie Fland, like, thanks for the horrible start to conference play and one of the worst starts in Razorback history. So,
yeah, I have no words, to be honest. Like, I'm stunned that this is how bad Arkansas is. They just lost their second best player, in my opinion, and they still got 13 more conference games to go. With that being said, though, I know we've talked about Boogie Fland. We talked about the overall Arkansas program. Finishing with this season, what do you think their final SEC record is?
Let me pull up the schedule real quick before I make an official ruling on that. Okay, so let's look here. They've got Georgia tomorrow night, so welcome to life without Boogie Fland. That's a loss. Let's see here. Oklahoma, I think they get that one. Maybe. No, I don't say.
It's tough.
I don't think they get it anymore. Yeah, with Boogie being that, I honestly, when you look at their conference schedule here, there's an argument that their only wins might be LSU at home and South Carolina. Like, is that crazy to say when you look at the whole schedule?
No, I don't think that is. I do think they'll get one that, like, we don't expect, which could be that it just could be that Oklahoma game, now that we think about it. So I'm going to predict 3-15, me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said the two games that versus LSU and then at South Carolina, and then I'll throw in Oklahoma as the other one. So 3-15 is my prediction. Absolute nightmare for Arkansas, and it's insane that I'm predicting them to be 3-15. But what about you, though?
I'll go 2-16.
2-16.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see wins here. I mean, I think I'll give them the game at home against LSU, and I'll give them South Carolina on the road. But other than that, I mean, you can't convince me they're going to beat Oklahoma without Boogie. You can't convince me they're going to beat Georgia tomorrow. They're not going to Rupp Arena and taking out Kentucky. Texas on the road. Texas has talent. I mean, I think that they could win that one pretty confidently. Alabama comes there. They got to go to Texas A&M. They got to go to Auburn. They still got to host Missouri. They still got to host Mississippi State. Like, this could get very ugly very quick, and I think they could be right there competing with South Carolina for dead last in the conference. I mean, they already are where things stand right now, but I think this might just be what sends them to the grave, to be honest with you.
Okay, and then one final thing before we get out of here. Do you think any other player leaves the Arkansas program before the season ends? Do you think this is the only guy who's out for injury? But do you think there's any other guy who just completely just says, all right, I've had it. I'm done playing. I'm out of here. Enters the portal or just leaves altogether. Just calls it. I'll make a prediction too. I will make a prediction.
Okay. I think, you know what? I think maybe Big Z. I think maybe he calls it quits.
That was my prediction. I was going to think Big Z calls it. He's like, all right.
I could easily see him saying, you know what, thanks for what you did, getting me eligible, but I'm going to the portal or I'm going to the NBA. Maybe one of Carter Knox or Billy Richmond too. Maybe one of them.
Yeah.
I think the
Big
one
Z goes to hell. I'm out of here. I'm going to Illinois to go join my brother. That's what I'm expecting right now.
I think DJ Wagner and Adu will stick around. I think Brazil and Jonas Adu, they'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know. Do we think Nelly Davis he gets completely fed up with the way he's been mismanaged and says, you know what, I'm out too?
Probably not, just because his role is going to get bigger by default, even though it's just been a nightmare season for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he sticks it. I think Big Z is actually. I have like a weird feeling, like if you've seen his minutes in the past conference games outside of the Missouri game, he was playing like 7 minutes, 6 minutes. He just looks lost. Like every time it just looks awful every time he's out there. And I love Big Z. His vibes are awesome. When he's on, he's a fun player to watch. But when he's just not getting minutes and he looks like a liability, it's very noticeable, to say the least.
For sure, yeah. Well, Razorback Nation over there in Fayetteville, our prayers are with you. It's going to be rough sledding the rest of the way. There's no putting this nicely. Boogie Fland, you can't underestimate the talent that he is and how big of a hole that leaves in your roster. For John Calipari's sake, I hope he doesn't go out sad and goes 2-16 or 3-15 in the SEC, like we say. But it's really hard to see a light at the end of the tunnel here, and I really think that if this gets bad enough, it could just be the curtain call for Cal's career. But we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting. I have a feeling we'll be talking about Arkansas again soon, Sully.
Oh, don't worry. I'll try and be there for that one too.